Did you know that in the United States, over 70% of people over the age of 65 wish to pass away peacefully at home? But only about 30% are truly mentally prepared for that moment. When we reach our 60s or 70s, death is no longer a distant thought. We have seen our parents grow weaker, held the hands of loved ones for the last time, or sat quietly by a hospital bed without really knowing what was happening inside their bodies. Hospice nurses, after spending thousands of hours accompanying patients, have noticed 5 special signs that often appear before someone leaves this life. These are not complicated medical theories. They are gentle, loving observations filled with care. By understanding these signs, you will know how to be present at the right time, so your loved one can leave this world in peace and calm. If you are over the age of 60, or if you are caring for elderly parents, please stay until the end of this video. And if you would like to, leave a comment saying, I am years old, so we can walk this journey together. Sign number 1. When your loved one begins to withdraw from the outside world, one of the first signs that hospice nurses often observe in someone who is nearing the end of life is a gentle withdrawal from the outside world. This does not happen suddenly. It is not a shock. It unfolds gradually, like a light mist slowly covering everyday life. Your loved one may begin to speak less, stop joining family conversations, avoid making phone calls, and show little interest when visitors come. They might only offer a soft smile or a slight nod, but no longer respond with words at times. You may notice them lying silently with their eyes partly closed, or gazing out the window for a long time without saying anything. This is not a sign of sadness or depression. In fact, many nurses say this kind of withdrawal brings a very peaceful feeling. It is as if the person is turning inward, preparing for something greater, something deeper. One nurse once compared this to a light switch that does not suddenly flip off, but slowly dims until the light fades away in silence. Family members often feel heartbroken when they see their parents stop eating, stop talking, or stop caring about the world around them. But the truth is, their bodies are starting to conserve energy, saving it for the transition ahead. Their minds no longer focus on what is outside. Instead, they seem to turn toward a deeper place, a space only they can feel. I remember a patient named Walter, 84 years old, who lived in Texas. He used to bring joy to every gathering. He always had stories, laughter, and even little songs he made up for his grandchildren. But in the final week of his life, he began to change. He no longer opened the curtains each morning like he used to. He stopped playing his old radio that once filled the room with the jazz music he loved. When his daughter asked, "Do you want to watch that show we used to enjoy together?" he just smiled and said, "Not today." That answer was gentle enough not to make anyone sad, but deep enough to let them know he was quietly stepping away from this room, without needing to say goodbye. This kind of withdrawal is not rejection. It is a form of acceptance, not cold or distant. It feels like a quiet preparation, a farewell without words. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do at that moment is not to ask them to eat more soup, or to press them about what they are thinking. It is simply to sit beside them, hold their hand, expect nothing, and just be fully present. According to a report from Harvard Medical Center, the stage of withdrawing from social contact and communication often happens a few days to a week before passing. It is the body's natural way of preparing for the smoothest and most peaceful departure possible. That silence, if you look closely, is not an empty space. It is a space filled with peace, And if you are gentle enough to listen with your heart, you will see that it is the most beautiful farewell they could ever leave behind. Sign number 2. Breathing becomes uneven, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, like the rhythm of waves, after a loved one begins to withdraw from the outside world. Another quiet sign often appears, one that hospice nurses are very familiar with. It is a change in breathing patterns. If their breathing was once steady and clear, you may now notice sudden pauses, slower breaths, and sometimes very deep breaths, followed by long silences. Then, out of nowhere, a gasp for air may return, as if the body just remembered it needs to breathe. Breathing becomes uneven, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, like gentle ripples on the surface of a calm lake. This change often causes family members to worry or fear that something serious is happening. However, according to medical experts at McMaster University, this is a completely natural physical response, known as Cheney-Stokes, which often appears in the final days or hours of life. The body at this point is entering a phase of self-adjustment, preparing to let go. The signals from the brain that control breathing are no longer being sent regularly, which causes the breathing to become irregular. But what is important to understand is that most people in this stage no longer feel discomfort, and they are often not fully aware of what is happening inside their bodies. I still remember a woman named Dorothy, 79 years old, who was once a choir singer at a small church in Seattle. When she was well, she used to say, "Breathing is the music we never notice until it changes its rhythm." In her final days, her breathing was sometimes fast, sometimes slow, and at moments it seemed to stop entirely before starting again. But what moved her family the most was not the irregular rhythm itself. It was the moment her daughter sat down beside the bed, said nothing, and simply slowed her own breathing to gently match the fragile rhythm of her mother. That moment needed no words, only presence, and it made the entire room feel incredibly peaceful. Changes in breathing patterns are not a sign of pain. They are part of the body's process of leaving this life, a journey the body is quietly completing. If you witness this in your loved one, the best thing you can do is to stay beside them. You do not need to rush to call a doctor or panic. Instead, place your hand gently on their shoulder, whisper a loving word, or simply breathe with them, just like Dorothy's daughter did, because in those final hours, what they need is not a grand gesture, but a deep, silent, and respectful connection. According to a study published in the Canadian Journal of Palliative Care, when family members understand and recognize changes in breathing, it can reduce feelings of confusion and anxiety by up to 60% during the end-of-life stage. This not only helps the person passing away to feel more at peace, but it also leaves those who remain with a warmer and more peaceful memory. That fragile breathing, though faint, is the final song of a life, and the one who hears that song is you. Listen with all the gentleness your heart can give. Sign number 3. Your loved one no longer shows interest in the outside world. After breathing begins to change and slow down, like the ebb of gentle waves. Another sign often becomes clear in many people nearing their final days. It is the loss of interest in the outside world at this stage. Your loved one no longer pays attention to the things they once deeply enjoyed, a favorite television show, a phone call from an old friend, or even a favorite meal that used to bring them joy may no longer stir any reaction. They might open their eyes and look around, but their gaze no longer carries a sense of connection. Their attention has turned inward, as if they are quietly having a conversation with themselves. This is not a sign of coldness or indifference. On the contrary, according to a study from Tufts University, this stage of pulling inward is a protective response. It helps the person slowly detach from the physical world and prepare to accept a new reality. Many nurses describe this time as a meditative state. The person is no longer concerned with the outside world, but is fully living within their inner calm. They do not need many words of comfort, and they certainly do not need to be pulled back to a life they are quietly preparing to leave behind. I still clearly remember Mr. James, 84 years old, who used to be a railroad engineer in Colorado. He was a wonderful storyteller. He could bring family dinners to life with just a few tales from his journeys across the state by train. But in his final days, he stopped telling stories. He sat by the window, looking out at the backyard, where a small model train had been placed long ago by his granddaughter. She brought him a new toy train car, hoping he would smile or say something, but he gently held it in his palm, then whispered, "That ride is over." There was no sadness, no regret, only calmness and a distant gaze. This stage, if properly understood, is not disconnection. It is transformation. Your loved one is not disappearing. They are simply moving in a direction you cannot yet see, and pulling them back with questions, offers of food, or suggestions to watch TV may only make them more tired. Instead, create a quiet, gentle space. Allow them to live fully in the inner world they are now facing. Maybe that space holds a memory, an image from childhood, or simply the acceptance of the approaching goodbye. According to the American Medical Directors Association, AMDA, allowing patients the freedom to withdraw in their final stage has a positive impact on comfort and greatly reduces anxiety. This benefit extends not only to the person nearing death, but also to the family members around them. This does not mean that you must withdraw as well. In fact, your silent presence, without demands or pressure, is the highest expression of love and respect. When someone stops looking outward, it is because something more important inside them needs to be completed. And the greatest thing you can do is to let them be themselves in those final days. Sign number 4, the miraculous burst of light before the final quiet. In the middle of days that seem still and slow, like the last stretch of a fading river, your loved one may suddenly become alert, cheerful, even call your name with a smile you have not seen in many days. They might sit up, eat a little of their favorite food, or share an old story as if it happened just yesterday. This is a moment that hospice nurses often refer to as the final burst of light, a brief but strangely complete moment of clarity. Many families feel relieved when they witness this. They begin to hope their loved one is recovering. But in truth, this is one of the clearest signs that the end is near. According to the Hospice Foundation of America, about 1 in 3 people nearing the end of life will experience this short period of clarity before passing. The reason may be a sudden surge of adrenaline, a natural chemical response like the last spark before a candle goes out. Even so, what makes this moment sacred is not science, but emotion. When someone who has been unresponsive for days suddenly holds your hand and says thank you, or speaks words they never had the chance to say, it is a priceless gift. It is as if they are using every last bit of energy to show you they are still here, still loving, still remembering, and ready to say goodbye. I will never forget Mr. George, 79 years old, a farmer who lived near the border of New Hampshire. After 3 days of near silence, one morning he opened his eyes, called his son by name, and said, "Make sure to trim the southern apple branch. That spot lacks sunlight. Then he gave a soft smile, made a small joke that filled the room with laughter and tears, and gently said, "Play that song, the one your mother loved." That evening, he passed away in his sleep, as gently as a leaf falling from a tree in the late autumn breeze. That burst of light is not a return to life. It is a farewell gift. It gives families a final moment of connection, a chance to say I love you, to say sorry, or simply to smile together one more time if you witness this moment. Please do not try to hold them back. Do not call the doctor. Do not ask, "Are you getting better?" Just be there. Listen to their words. Hold them if they want. Or sit quietly if that is all they need. A report in the Journal of Hospice and Palliative Medicine noted that around 80% of families feel more at peace after witnessing this moment, because it is not just about life, it is about completeness before letting go. Let this moment happen as a ritual of love. No flowers, no candles, just your heart open, and your hand ready to hold theirs one last time, in the final light of a life gently coming to its close. Sign number 5, the final sound. Death rattle and slowed breathing. When the final stage of life enters its last hours, the body begins to show clearer signs. One of these is a complete change in breathing, along with the appearance of a distinct sound that nurses call the death rattle. It is a soft, wet rattling noise that happens when the person can no longer swallow or clear fluids from their throat. This sound often causes worry, as it may seem like the person is choking or in great pain. But in reality, most patients at this stage no longer feel discomfort, as they are usually in a deep, unconscious state, no longer aware of what is happening. According to the Journal of the American Medical Directors Association, the death rattle is a common occurrence within the final 48 hours before death. It does not cause pain, despite what many people may think, instead of reacting in fear. Those present should understand that the body is naturally shifting into its final state. Breathing at this point slows down, becomes more spaced out, and may even pause for a few seconds before returning until it eventually stops completely. I once met Mrs. Carroll, 82 years old, who lived in Ohio. She had been unconscious for 2 days. Her daughter sat beside her, never leaving her bedside for even an hour. When the rattling sound began, she held her mother's hand and gently placed it over her chest, as if offering a silent goodbye. Mrs. Carroll did not speak or open her eyes, but her final breath came like a soft breeze, and then everything went quiet. Later, her daughter told me, it felt like watching the tide slowly draw back from the shore, slow, steady, and without pain. If you are the one witnessing this, do not be afraid. There is nothing you need to do except be present. Sit there, hold their hand, say words of love, or simply breathe slowly alongside them. That gentle presence is the most precious thing you can offer. Do not try to stop the sound. Do not panic. Because that is not the sound of death. It is the sound of a natural release, soft and peaceful. You may feel helpless in that moment, but in truth, you are doing the most important thing. You are helping your loved one leave this world in your arms, in your breath, in a space filled with love that remains whole. And when everything is over, what stays with you will not be fear. It will be a warm memory filled with peace. We have just walked together through 5 special signs that hospice nurses have quietly observed over thousands of hours spent beside people at the final stage of life, from the gentle withdrawal from the outside world to the pauses in breathing, the gaze that no longer connects with reality, the brief moments of clarity before the end, and the quiet sound of slowing breath. None of these are things to fear. On the contrary, if understood and welcomed in the right way. You will see that death is also a natural part of life. It can happen with peace, with gentleness, and filled with love. If you are over the age of 60 or are caring for an elderly loved one, the best thing you can do is not to hold them back with medicine or expectations. It is to walk beside them with gentle presence, just sitting there, holding their hand, asking nothing and saying nothing. May be the most beautiful final gift they can carry with them, starting today. You do not need to do anything grand. You can begin with something small. Sit with your parents a little longer each night. Lower the volume of the television when they sleep, or simply listen to the rhythm of their breath when they are tired. That alone can make a big difference in their final journey. If you found today's message helpful, please subscribe to our channel so we can continue sharing about nutrition, movement, emotional care, and the journey toward a complete and peaceful end of life. Have you ever witnessed these signs in someone close to you? Please share your story in the comments, because every story is a seed of empathy and connection. Thank you for staying with us until the very end.